Hey Mission Youth, greetings from New York. My name is Father Eric Nielsen, and Gudelia asked me to talk to you a little bit about the foundation of Mission Youth, Zobel. And thanks be to God, I was able to be there and be instrumental in helping you guys get started. I think the first point I want to make is Mission Youth and Mission Youth Zobel will never really, you can't really understand them unless you understand the connection with ECYD and with Regnum Christi. You see, Mission Youth, everything that we do in Mission Youth really is of a Regnum Christi and of ECYD style. What our foundation took place because once upon a time when I used to help out as a chaplain in De La Salle Zobel, one of my ECYD kids, his name was Anthony Militante. He was a high school student there. He had already gone on the Holy Week missions with Mission Youth. And I remember asking Anthony one day, look, what can we do in order to bring this Holy Week mission experience into the school? So we ended up having a series of like 4 or 5 really long meetings at the Starbucks in Madrigal there in Ayala Alabang. It was Anthony and his girlfriend at the time, Tatiana Medina, also a Zobel student. And after the course of a lot of hours and a lot of Starbucks coffee, we came up with the Mission Youth org. Okay? From the beginning, we had a few clear principles. First of all, Mission Youth is not about having camps. And Mission Youth Zobel is not about even getting people to do the Holy Week mission. What Mission Youth wants to do is to form missionaries. And that's a totally different ball of wax. You see, the fact that you do a mission doesn't make you a missionary. To be a missionary is a mindset. It's an attitude. It means basically to look at, it's a way of looking at the world, to say, look at the world and say, how can we build God's kingdom here? How can we bring Christ to souls? How can we help to save souls and help people get to heaven? So being a missionary is a 24/7 job. It's 365 days a year. It is an entire life. And that's what Mission Youth wants to do. We want to form a young generation of Catholics who are going to look at the world with that missionary heart and say, how can we bring Christ there and how can we help people to encounter Christ? Secondly, Mission Youth, we had clear, Mission Youth has its own identity. We are not any other org. And that's not to say we're better than any other org or worse than any other org or anything. It's just to say we're different. We've got our own way of doing things. And at the beginning, I was pretty adamant about making sure that we weren't just like everybody else. Mission Youth, like I said, we're very Regnum Christi, and Regnum Christi is basically just the adult version, if you want, of ECYD. We're very RC in the way that we pray. We're very RC in the sense of having that attitude of going out. I remember when we first introduced the idea of Mission Youth Zobel to the president. At the time it was Brother Dennis Magbanoa, Broden. He's now at San Benilde, I think. The one thing that he really liked was, he says, I like the idea of an org that doesn't just do something on the campus twice a year, but we go out into society. We go out and we do stuff. We touch people off campus. And that was something that got Broden really excited. Mission Youth is about the formation of the missionaries, and that's why we dedicate a lot of time to personal accompaniment. You know, you'll notice that I don't even know who the people are that go there anymore. In my day, it was me, and then later on Claire Umale came, and Gudelia, and some of the other consas. But I made a point, at least once a week, and probably twice, and maybe even 3 times a week, I was on campus, and I was talking to my missionaries. Spiritual guidance, coaching, accompaniment. Because that one-to-one relationship, that's where real formation takes place. In Mission Youth, it's important that we build a team. The team is kind of everything. When you do missions, you're not just going to go out in a ball of 100 people. When we do missions, we're going to break up into small teams. You're going to go out, you'll probably be living together in a group of maybe 10 people or so in one little barangay. And then you're going to go out in groups of 2 or 3 people and knock on doors. And we need to learn how to form community. And that team element is also something that, again, is very Regnum Christi. It's very much ECYD. That's the way that we do things in our world. The third point is this. Everything about the Mission Youth org from the beginning had something to do with missions. Like I said, the way that we pray on the camp is the way that we're going to pray on the mission. The kind of games that we organize are the games that you're going to play with the kids on the missions. Just doing housework, the scavenger hunts that we used to run, everything on the camp, one way or another, was oriented towards helping us when we go out there to do missions to have the tools that we need. So what were our biggest challenges? Well, I think the biggest challenges in a sense were kind of the opposite of what I just said. Challenge number one was, well, first of all, just getting people to go. You know, when you're trying to found something, you're an unknown quantity on campus, right? So when we started with Mission Youth, it was kind of funny because it tended to be the kids that were, in a sense, the most Catholic, the most involved, were the ones that were also the most interested in doing missions with us, right? But what happens is, if you're already president of LSYC and you're already in the debate club and you're already doing all this other stuff, you got to make choices. And because we were new, getting people to give us the first priority was tough those first couple of years. And then, of course, a lot of the people's friends, even if we did, over the next couple of years, develop a really solid core team, a lot of other people were interested in doing missions, but they were still kind of timid because until you get a group of friends, you get your barcada there, a lot of people were just kind of timid about doing the missions. I think by now, thanks be to God, it's kind of become a cool thing to do. It's something known and people look forward to it. And you've had generations of people that have done missions and friends that bring friends. But when you're trying to start something off, you've got to get that ball rolling. The second thing, like I said, the second challenge was just keeping our identity, doing things in a Mission Youth way. And what do I mean? Well, our core team members were great kids, but if the only experience they've had is other orgs, then when push comes to shove, your default reaction is going to be to do whatever you do in the other org. You know, for example, I remember one time on one of the camps, we had this great activity lined up. And I was in the chapel, though, because I was hearing confessions. There were a handful of kids that were having these really great confessions and everything, and that was great. I was doing my job. And I came out, and somehow the activity we had organized had turned into Camp Crush. Now, again, I'm not going to say it's a bad activity. It's probably something that the other orgs do, and it's kind of a bonding activity. But I was like, we just shot down one of our game changers in order to have Camp Crush. It's like, you got to be kidding me. Okay, but again, keeping things MY, that was always a big challenge for me. And again, it's just a matter of time so that kids get used to doing things for a year or two until it becomes natural to them and until we understand what is kind of the Mission Youth spirit. The third big challenge was not just to get the kids to go, but then to let their families also to let them go. Because sometimes kids would say, I want to do the Holy Week mission, and they never talk to mom and dad about it. And mom and dad say, you know, this is the only time the family can get together, and we've already got plans for Holy Week, and we've already got plans for whatever weekend we have the mission on. So getting the families to buy in was the third big challenge. For me, as a priest, my biggest joy is always to watch young people step up. When I see young people that, you know, I've known and I know that their insecurities and whatnot, but I see what they're capable of doing when we simply say yes to Christ. The minute we start saying yes to Christ, we find ourselves doing things and saying things that we never thought we could do. You don't need to be a theologian. You don't even always need to be a great saint. The minute we say yes to Christ, Christ knows you. He knows your capacities. He knows your weaknesses. He knows your talents. He knows everything, and he knows how to use what you've got. It's just a matter of putting ourselves in the right situation. You know, sometimes the kids would get worked up because they say, well, I'm not good in Tagalog. Well, being good in Tagalog is a great gift on a mission, but you know what? Being bad in Tagalog can also be a gift because it opens people's hearts when they see you stumbling around and they're like, man, this guy's having a hard time. And it moves them, and they realize this guy's out here giving his all, even though he can hardly speak. And that can open people's hearts more than being super good in Tagalog or all those other things. My second big joy was the time right when I was finally leaving Mission Youth. I was there we started in 2011 at the beginning of that academic year, getting things going. And I left at the end of 2014. And that was the summer that things clicked. All of a sudden, my core team had experience They really were into a groove. They were moving well. And on campus, all of a sudden, instead of fighting to get people to go on the camp, all of a sudden we became one summer like the cool Catholic org to join. Before, we were always trying to fill spaces and trying to find, okay, we need 5 more people or whatever. And all of a sudden that year in 2014, literally hundreds of people got turned away. We didn't have space for them. The third thing that I really appreciated was really to see the way the faculty members appreciated Mission Youth. I remember one of the faculty members, I'm not going to mention names, but they said, Mission Youth is the only org that I don't need to worry about when you guys have a camp. You guys aren't going to be doing something stupid when I'm not looking. That's consoling. I remember another faculty member saying, you guys are the most, quote unquote, Catholic of the orgs. When you hear people saying, like, how do you recruit? Because it seems like all of your Mission Youth members are all exemplary conduct students. So how do you guys go about it? Those are all things that are really consoling. So finally, what advice would I give to the core team? I think 2 things, basically. Number 1, never forget, the only thing that really matters is holiness, okay? The only thing that really matters is that we are trying to be saints. We're generous with Christ. If you're holy, you can be, humanly speaking, kind of a disaster. Christ can use you, okay? And if you're not holy, if you're not, for example, in the state of grace, you can have all the talents in the world, and it may on the external side look like you're a great missionary, but God's not gonna use you to touch souls. And the second thing is, remember your team. The mission is not just about going out and doing the missions to people out in the barangay. The first people we're called to do missions with are the other missionaries. And if we build a great team life where there's a lot of charity, where there's a lot of joy, where everybody works, everybody pitches in, everyone's enthusiastic, if you have a good team life, you will be good missionaries, guaranteed. If you have a bad team life, even if you have people that are humanly talented again, but if you're divided, people are going to pick up on that. So it's a big pleasure being able to talk to you. You're going to be in my prayers, and I ask you to please continue to pray for me. God willing, someday I'll be able to make it back to the Philippines, and if I do, I'll be sure to visit Zobel and visit Mission Youth. God bless.